Good morning and God bless. Welcome to the Front Page Saturday Town Hall edition. And we've got a popular topic for you this morning. Bills. Everybody's dealing with it. Is more help on the way? That's the question we're posing. And we've got some people who are prepared to answer that. We always welcome you. Your phone calls at 520-KJLH, 520-5554. And today we're going to look at resources, as we see some relief programs winding down, unemployment and beyond. We have lots and lots of questions, and we've got people with lots of answers. Joining us this morning to kick off the show, he is the LA County Supervisor representing the 2nd District, the Honorable Mark Ridley-Thomas. Good morning.
Morning to you, Dominique.
It's great to have you on. I know you are always there for us, no stranger to the show. It's great to have you on back on Saturday. And before we dive into the issues about, eviction moratoriums and help that may be available, I know that you have recently completed or passed a measure that addresses the other elephant in the room in our society right now, which is ending systemic racism, and you've put it into law for the county.
I have. It's the Anti-Racism Policy Framework Measure of 2002, and I'm intent on pushing the county to be all that it can be. 170 years of history is going to be under examination, and the county itself and its extensive staff and departments will go through a pretty thoroughgoing self-examination, with the outcomes being equity and a higher measure of justice. We're going to talk about this more explicitly on this coming Monday at 2 p.m. We'll do a Facebook Live on it. We invite Front Page listeners to join us. It's another virtual conversation. We're just going to engage people on the role of LA County and what it must do in redefining systems and structures to create, again, a more equitable LA County from a governance perspective, from a policy perspective, from an outcomes perspective. Again, that's on Monday, 2 o'clock, Facebook Live.
And so we just go, we go to your Facebook page.
Yes, my Facebook page. And if you want more information about it before that, www.ridleythomas.lacounty.gov. That's where you can get more detail. And I'm hoping to see as many Front Page listeners on Facebook Live, and we'll go at it.
Excellent. Speaking of, live online events, today is the KJLH Women's Health Expo. You've always been such a great part of helping us keep that thing going. This is the 20th anniversary, and it starts right after the show today at 10 a.m. on KJLHradio.com. So, it is the Women's Health Expo, but of course you, Supervisor, are always invited.
Well, it's a big deal, and shout out for 2 decades of carrying the torch for women's issues from the perspective of health, principally, but beyond that. And so since I've been in public office, and frankly, prior to that, I've always carried a women's portfolio and hired people who have done that. We've been on point on gender analysis. And it first began when we stood up the Rosa Parks Sexual Assault Crisis Center in the mid-'80s, a center that still exists now under the umbrella of the YWCA. Real important work in terms of violence against women. It has a health connection and component, mental and physical health. And so these issues related to women's rights, but also the quality of life for women, for children, their families, is fundamentally important, and it remains important up to this very moment in terms of the work that we do in the county of Los Angeles. And so, again, a major salute to the virtual conversation that will take place this morning. It's important, and just like we're working on this anti-racism agenda, obviously we have to continue to press on the anti-sexism agenda as well.
For sure. Joining us in the conversation right now, the LA County Director of Consumer and Business Affairs, Joseph Nikchita. Thank you for being with us this morning as we unpack, what resources are available and what the landscape is for people that have been hit hard by the COVID-19 economic piece. Welcome to the show.
Good morning. Thanks so much for having me.
So where are we at? Supervisor Ridley-Thomas, I know that we had an extension of the county eviction moratorium, meaning countywide, it's extended, if I'm not mistaken, until September 30th, correct?
Mm-hmm. And we will re-up should that be necessary. But just a little bit by way of background, and I'm glad that Joseph is here to lend an assist. But as recently as June, Dominique, California unemployment rate was nearly 15%, numbers that we haven't seen in quite a while. And the sad news is that we expect that number to increase, and we need to be laser-like focused on measures to help blunt the burden that people will bear. And so that's why we're seeking to stabilize the housing market on a number of fronts. Now, I got to say this because we've had on front page the clinical director of mental health, who would have me say none of us are well until all of us are well, because the burdens that people are bearing produce real serious challenge. So I want to make it very clear that this economic toll that's being taken is tough, and the severity of the crisis continues to be more acute and pervasive. And for African Americans, persons of color generally speaking, when those who are of means sneeze, the balance of us catch a cold and is moving toward pneumonia in many respects. And so it's anticipated as up to 20% of families who've lost their jobs could end up homeless. And these families need help right now. We need to be about prevention. And so that's why we have an eviction moratorium in place. And you're right, it will go through the end of September, longer if necessary. And I've asked the county departments to put a transition plan in place on what services we can provide after the moratorium is lifted, and we anticipate at some point it will need to be lifted. But we need to be ready, not get ready, we need to be ready. And so we're expending significant sums of money, both the county, the city, as well as the state. We need to get the federal government more involved in that. That's a discussion that I hope we will have in the near future about what needs to happen on November the 3rd. Thank you very much. If everybody's on point with November the 3rd, a change in personnel in the White House, just clap your hands, because we need to go in on that, register to vote, and then vote. Got to get that in. But Dominic, maybe we should get Joe Nikchita in to give a few insights in terms of some of the more details on it, and I'll be glad to weigh in and couple up with him, if that's okay with you.
Yeah, as a resident of LA County, a lot of us are just wondering what resources are available. What is the safety net? When we look at what's happening, federally, maybe it doesn't seem like, help maybe on the way immediately. What can we do? What can access to resources would you suggest we start with if we are looking at today, August 1st, and wondering how we're going to make ends?
It's already August. My. Hey, Joseph, what we got? We've allocated significant sums of resources. Why don't you tell us, the front page audience, what those resources look like?
Yeah. Good morning again. So with that cue, Supervisor, thanks so much, and thanks for your work on the issues of eviction. So,
Joseph, you need to talk a little louder so I can hear you. I want to make sure you don't make any mistakes. I want to hear it real good.
Well, if you can't hear it, it may be our phone system. I will make sure to summarize what the director says.
I have some messages here, Supervisor, and I think they'll be summarized well. Look, basically, I think the takeaway for any renter is that wherever you are in LA County, whether you're in the city of LA, unincorporated county, or another one of our 87 cities, with very limited exceptions, every tenant is protected from eviction at the moment. This is through local action primarily, in addition to state orders that are in place. So I want everybody to know that if they're concerned about paying rent or being evicted or their landlord is threatening eviction, there are protections in place. And the most important thing that anybody can do is to get information to arm themselves about their rights, but also their obligations. And we have all of the resources that tenants and landlords could want in one location, one place. The website is lacountyhelpcenter.org, help as in help me, HELP. And the number is 833-238-4450. I have the lines open today till noon, especially for your listeners, Dominique. So I want to start with that.
Wow.
That is the
Thank you. Appreciate that.
In terms of resources, so there are a number of resources, and the supervisor mentioned a transition plan that we've been looking at for lifting the moratorium, and I think a lot of those pieces are starting to come into place already. I just want to give a shout out to a program that was especially for the second supervisorial district. This was a $1.8 million rent assistance program with $800,000 carved out for mom and pop landlords for mortgage relief. The board this week, upcoming week on Tuesday, will allocate a substantial amount of CARES Act funding for rental assistance. There's $100 million tapped and ready to go for renters who have trouble paying rent. And that also benefits landlords. It's really a dual benefit there because the landlords are able to collect the rent that hasn't been paid. That is expected to launch in mid-August. The website for that, and I'm sorry there are different websites, but the website for that is rentrelief.lacda.org, and we can provide you all of these links to post on your website. But again, if you called the Help Center, 833-238-4450, staff there can help connect you with any resources that you might need. And then the second thing that we're doing, and again, thanks to Supervisor Ridley-Thomas for his leadership on this, and this is specifically for renters, is we're on Tuesday the board is voting to set aside about $9 million for legal assistance for renters who are low income and have trouble paying rent due to a COVID-19 hardship. This is really to stabilize housing. So if you're a renter and you are facing eviction, you can have a lawyer assigned to you for free. These are pro bono organizations, legal aid organizations, big ones, you've heard of them. They do great work, and we know that tenants who are represented have a much higher success rate, not necessarily staying in their current apartment, but being able to either stay or move to another apartment without a disruption. And those disruptions are so detrimental to the families that live in these units. evictions are just such a negative thing, both for your health, your financial outcomes, and for homelessness. And so we're really, really concerned about that. So I want to thank the supervisor for those two really major efforts that are underway.
Well, that sounds like actually some solid, concrete help coming down the pipeline. We've got rent relief in mid-August, and then the legal assistance for tenants that are facing, issues with eviction. Even though there's a moratorium, I have been hearing from a lot of callers that, some people are being, threatened with eviction, or it seems like proceedings are starting. If we wanted to access that legal assistance, where's the entry point there?
That's a great question. The program is expected to launch in September. We're negotiating with the legal aid providers as we speak to provide these services, and so typically the entry point is through community-based organizations that will be partnering with the legal aid organizations. These are county-wide. They're all over the county, in the cities, in the unincorporated area. But all of the resources, again, are warehoused through our help center, 833-238-4450. I just want to say that if you haven't engaged with the Department of Consumer and Business Affairs or the county, or you have a sort of a preconception of what it's like to work with the government, let me change your mind. Let my staff change your mind. These are dedicated people. We are working really, really hard, especially for tenants, but also for landlords. We have programs for landlords, and we have a ton of programs for small businesses. I would be remiss if I didn't just sort of step aside from the rent issue for 1 second and give another shout out to the supervisor for helping launch the LA Regional COVID-19 Recovery Fund for small businesses and micro entrepreneurs. The reason I want to do this is because applications for grants are open right now. This is a partnership with the City of LA and philanthropy. I have another website, lacovidfund.org. You can start applying for the next round Monday. But again, everything can go through that number at the Help Center. We'll connect you with those resources.
Okay, before we pivot back to Supervisor Mark Ridley-Thomas, if you would just give the website for the county helpline one more time, the one that goes with the 833-238-4450. We keep track of all these things on KJLHradio.com. When you guys tell us these things, we post them there so people can find all the different websites and helpline numbers.
Fantastic. It's lacountyhelpcenter.org.
Yes, I know that's already up there, but I just want people to hear it. Supervisor Mark Ridley-Thomas, what should we be tracking right now, and how can we help you help us?
Well, I think it's important to know that we are laser-like focused on this. The County of Los Angeles is putting forward substantial resources, rounding it out to approximately $100 million in rent relief funds, and it's a win for tenants and small, that is, mom and pop property owners, both. And we've allocated, as Joe indicated, resources toward eviction defense, somewhere in the area of $10 million. Why that's important is because we know when a landlord who is trying to evict someone for flimsy or unsubstantiated reasons, when they know that that tenant is represented, that landlord will think twice and often back up or face severe consequences that they don't want to have to deal with. So we're in this protecting the rights of those who deserve to be protected. But we've got to invest in the future, and that's why we are going forward as hard as we are in terms of affordable housing. This is a huge issue for us to contend with, and so we're trying to hit this from every side. We're tackling it on a variety of fronts. Tenants and property owners are hurting, and we know that, and we need to make those resources available very actively. And And this COVID-19 overlay under which we're contending, it's just really critical for us to be engaged with, because frankly the options not to do so are not acceptable. So in addition to the information that Joseph just gave you, go to www.covid19.lacounty.gov and see all of the resources that are there. www.covid19.lacounty.gov, or even call 211. This is important, very important. And the fact of the matter is, Dominic, we will not let up. We are intent on making good for the residents of this county. After all, this is the largest county in the whole United States of America. And LA County is the wealthiest county on the scene. It's the 17th largest economy. And so any tolerance for poverty has to be rejected because of the amount of wealth that exists in this environment. And to the extent that we know that to be the case, we need to do our job and do it now.
Well, Supervisor Mark Ridley-Thomas, I want to welcome you to being one of our team, to supporting the Saturday Town Hall edition. You're now an official sponsor of this show, and it is so very greatly appreciated.
Well, we appreciate the opportunity and honor to play a role in making sure that Front Page listeners get all the best information that they can get, and they certainly get it here on Front Page. And we thank you, Dominique, for leaning in, and holding forth, and representing. We need more of that.
Thank you guys so much, Joseph Nishida, and of course, Honorable Mark Ridley-Thomas. We appreciate your being with us this morning.
Thank you.
All right, continuing our conversation in just a moment. And as I stated, today's town hall meeting is brought to you by the City of Los Angeles, Community Build, City Council President Emeritus Herb Wesson, LA County Supervisor Mark Ridley-Thomas, and the Independent Professionals Association at indiework.org. It is the KJLH Women's Health Expo Day, and you can check that out right after the show at 10 a.m. at kjlhradio.com. More straight ahead right here.